See, madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
They talking all of this madness, talking all of this madness, talking all of this madness. They talking all of this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Matt Madness Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Ron Pashery. I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Wednesday Night Live, Alo Aaron Lloyd. And this week we have a very special guest. I guess we could say, Alo, the most special guest we've had so far.
Definitely.
The new CZW World Heavyweight Champion, the man of the hour, Lio Rush. Lio, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Well, it's an honor for us as well. It is a pleasure. As I said, you are the new CZW World Heavyweight Champion. You posted a video calling your son right after you had won the title. I think we, unfortunately, are a little more excited than he was. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was not too excited at all when I called him for whatever reason.
Now, what I wanted to ask, I couldn't make it out. Did he say okay, or did he say I don't care?
No, he said okay. He was
Okay.
Flat out okay.
So he's like, yeah, whatever. It's cool if you got a belt. It doesn't matter. But did he like it when he saw it?
Oh, yeah. He was definitely ready for his photo shoot when he saw the belt.
The little champ, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, it's an honor to have a world champion on the show. I believe, are you the only two-time Shamrock Cup winner?
Not the only two-time Shamrock Cup winner, but I am the only two-time back-to-back year Shamrock Cup winner.
Okay, so the only one to win it back-to-back years. Also, the ROH top prospect in 2016. When did you start wrestling exactly?
I started training, I believe, early 2014, and I started to, once I graduated my training in school, I started doing shows in 2015. So I've been doing this a little over 2 years now. So
you've actually accomplished an awful lot in just over 2 years. Did you think, did you see this for yourself 2 years ago when you had your first match?
I didn't. I knew. Well, I'm not going to say that I knew, but I had a feeling that I would accomplish a lot. It kind of came to a surprise to me that I accomplished it so fast. I think that's the only thing that kind of came as a shocker for me. But I always had it in the back of my head that I knew that I was going to succeed in wrestling just because of how dedicated I was to the business.
Now, I read somewhere that you got into wrestling when you were in middle school. That's when you started to watch it. Oh, go ahead.
No. Yeah, you were right. About, in the elementary, beginning of middle school, that's when I really started into it.
Now, who were some of the guys that you looked at that time that made you want to actually go ahead and do this as a career?
The first match that I ever seen was Rikishi versus Booker T, and that's what kind of took my interest. But I didn't really want to become a professional wrestler until I started seeing guys like Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Tajiri, all those guys that were in that kind of ruthless aggression era that came up with like John Cena and Randy Orton. So when I started to see all those guys, that's when I actually wanted to pursue a career in professional wrestling.
So it wasn't like right from the first second you saw it, but eventually you saw some guys that made you want to do it.
Yeah. I was always, when the first match that I saw, that's what made me a fan of it. I didn't want to be a wrestler, though, right away. I was pretty heavy into baseball when I was younger. But once I saw those guys like Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, those are the guys that made me actually want to be a professional wrestler.
So, is there any one of those guys that you think you've patterned yourself after more? Have you picked little pieces from different guys?
Yeah, I definitely would say I picked, little pieces from different guys that I've been watching. But I definitely think that the style that I have right now is definitely influenced by amateur wrestling. I amateur wrestled for 5 years, and I kind of feel like my style, my quickness kind of came from amateur wrestling.
And is it true you were actually an All-American amateur wrestler?
Yeah. My sophomore year, I got All-American status. I was fifth in the nation at the weight class of 121.
121. So,
yep.
Where were you height-wise for that weight class?
Height-wise, I was about 5'4". About 5'4", 5'5"-ish. Actually, I was one of the bigger 121-pound guys. I always had to cut so much weight. I probably was cutting weight from about 135 going down to 119, 121. So I was pretty big for the weight class that I was in. I think that's why I kind of dominated that weight class at that age.
So you were like the monster of the 121 weight class.
Yeah.
Is that one thing you definitely don't miss about pro wrestling? Is you're not actually cutting any weight for anything?
You said do I not miss that?
Yes. Is that like one of your favorite things about transitioning to pro wrestling, where your weight is not?
Oh
an issue?
Yeah, definitely. It was so hard. It was so hard trying to cut weight in high school. I think that was the most difficult things I've ever had to do in my life. But the transition over to professional wrestling was definitely a huge help. It made me enjoy wrestling a lot more.
Lio, it's Aaron here. My first in-person side of you was when you fought Tony Nese at the House of Hardcore in Philadelphia this past December. And I was a big fan of your style. And if you ever listen to the show, you'll know that I'm a big fan of The Lowdown by D'Lo Brown. So anytime I see a Lowdown frog splash, I pop anytime. But when you were training, did you emulate anybody?
No, not really. When I was training, I just remember always saying to my trainers that I didn't want to be a high flyer. I just wanted to be like a quicker guy, not really doing a whole bunch of springboards or a whole bunch of stuff that regular high flyers would do. So, that's the only thing that I remember while I was training. I know that they have said that I might have to do a lot of that stuff, but I always try to find a way to work around high flying all the time, because I was an amateur wrestler in high school, and I was always on the ground, mat wrestling, so I hate leaving my feet.
So as much as you can do it, it's not necessarily something you seek out to do that often.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's plenty of stuff that I can do. I just choose not to.
Because that leads to another thing I was wondering. Watching your match with Sacrifice was the last pay-per-view, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you prefer that style of a more slower-paced, hard-hitting, physical storytelling match than more of the athletic showcase?
I feel like I'm a very versatile wrestler. I feel like I can do any kind of style of wrestling. I think that a lot of people have seen that over the last 2 years that I've been wrestling. But I feel like whether it is that, showcase kind of wrestling match, or, like you said, that slow-paced match, I think I can get a story out of any kind of match that I do. But I wouldn't say that there's really a match type that I prefer, just because I'm pretty heavy on the psychology aspect of professional wrestling. So I think that I can get a great story out of any match that I do. Of course, I would like to not do as much in every match like that showcase match, but I enjoy both.
Okay, so you're a jack of all trades. You could excel no matter which way you have to work.
Correct.
Now, I'm glad you brought up psychology, and this is actually something that I really wanted to get into. Your entrances that I've seen in CZW specifically are some of the most affecting entrances that I see in wrestling today. Like the one before your match against Sami Callihan at Cage of Death 18. I was watching it earlier today with goosebumps from the Paint It Black song, Lady Deja coming out and laying the flowers down, your body, the shot of your back getting closer to the screen, and then you coming out, every look on your face, your body language, your mannerisms, the way you close your hand into a fist, but you don't just ball it up. It's like every knuckle closes one at a time. It's almost, I don't know if there's a conscious effort into everything you do, or if that just kind of happens in the heat of the moment. But which would you say it is? Is everything as thought out as it seems?
It definitely is. I'm glad that you brought up the knuckle clenching. That's the first time I've heard somebody bring that up. I definitely wanted people to notice that, though. All of my mannerisms are. It's kind of scary, but I do things best when it comes natural. That entire gimmick that I do in CZW kind of came natural to me. It wasn't really something that I thought out. I was going through something very traumatizing in my personal life at the moment, and I think that the emotion that was going, from my personal issues transitioned over into that very entrance, which is what you said, the Cage of Death entrance with
Yes.
Ben Callahan. I think that was the first time where I truly engaged into that character, because I did it before with Joey Janela, but I think that Cage of Death pay-per-view was definitely the one that grabbed everybody's attention. So I'm glad that you picked out all of those little things that I wanted people to notice.
There was one other thing I noticed, and I'm known, I think, for reading too much into things in wrestling. You had the black face paint, almost as if there was black running through your veins or something like that in that entrance.
Yeah.
Then it was your first match with Gacy. I don't remember which show it was. It looked like there was a little more. Like it was as if it was like a virus that was spreading throughout you. Was that the intention behind that?
Yeah. That was that's definitely what the case was. I'm glad that you could see the progression throughout the character, because I always like to make it a little more every show. It's not like we're on WWE Raw and we have week after week after week to kind of draw out this huge thing. So I kind of like to every CZW show I kind of want to evolve just a little more. So I believe when I had my match with Johnny Silver, that's when I first brought out the white suit, and then I wore the white suit again for the latter match with Joey Janela, but of course in that dark character, and then that's when I started using the painted black, and then the suit slowly started to turn to black, and that's when I started wearing that black suit with the white stripes all throughout it, and then eventually there won't be any colors anymore. So I'm glad that you can see the progression that the character is starting to build to.
Lio, speaking of progression, what part of your game has grown the most since winning the Top Prospect tournament last year?
You mean as far as my game, like in the business?
Yes, because Ron was just talking to you about your entrance and just little things, the mannerisms, all that in general.
I think the one thing that has progressed the most is my confidence level. Just being able to keep up with those guys that were on the Ring of Honor roster. Those are the best wrestlers in the world. So for my name to come up in the same conversation as the Young Bucks or Adam Cole or Jay Lethal, and in the sense of, stealing the show or being match of the night, that definitely raised my confidence level once I had left Ring of Honor and going back on the indies. So it showed me that I'm not just some rookie, and I can keep up with the best of them.
Now, there's actually something I want to going back. Aaron mentioned that the progression, and you mentioned the progression in your confidence. I was watching your WWE Tough Enough audition the other day.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong with it. There was actually something very specific I picked out about it. At one point you say that you will eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling, and I associate that phrase with Triple H. I do a bad Triple H impression, and I always use that phrase. I've also noticed that you have used a sledgehammer in a few matches. Is there any way that Triple H has had an influence on you as a wrestler? Is that just coincidence?
Triple H, actually, I remember watching a Tough Enough episode, and it's a pretty popular episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when he was, I forgot which year it was, but I remember there was a scene when he was in the ring talking to everybody, and one of the guys' shorts was ripped, and he said that his nuts was hanging out. And he was talking about how much you had to sacrifice if you wanted to make it in the business. And, just saying how much you would be away from your family, or you got to be super mom or super dad once you come back home. So that kind of woke me up and made me realize that, if I did want to succeed in the business, if I wanted to get at the level of all of those guys, that that's what I needed to do. I needed to eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling. And actually, those were the first words that was said to me when I asked a former WWE superstar, which is a current WWE superstar now, Matt Hardy. He was the first person I ever asked any kind of advice for in professional wrestling. And I asked him what did I need to do to, succeed in the wrestling business, or, be at a level that he was at. And he said that I needed to eat, breathe, and sleep professional wrestling. So those words stuck with me ever since 2014.
So Matt Hardy, I'm surprised at that. That was not who I was expecting.
Yeah,
that you got that from. Aaron sitting next to me right now is maybe the biggest Matt Hardy fan that I know. So he's smiling from ear to ear over that.
Speaking of your Tough Enough tape, I believe you went to high school with Patrick Clark. Is that correct?
We didn't go to the same high school, but we did amateur wrestle in the same county. He went to Forestville High School, and I went to Duval High School, which isn't that far from each other. And, both of those wrestling teams, of course, were in the same county, which was PG County. So we knew of each other, yeah.
Okay. Also, I believe you two were MCW Tag Team Champions. How was that experience with you teaming with Patrick Clark? Because he's one of the most colorful characters on NXT that we're actually looking forward to seeing.
Yeah. He is, that was a pretty cool experience and moment for the both of us. That was around the time where Patrick had just got off of that Tough Enough show, and so everybody was super excited to see him back in our home promotion of MCW. And once we won those tag titles, it was pretty special because we started together, and for him to go on national television and kind of make a name for himself with the whole Tough Enough show, and for him to come back, and it was almost like unfinished business, because he left so suddenly on that show, and we didn't get a chance to go out and really do as much tag team stuff as we wanted to. So when he came back and we won those titles, it was pretty cool.
Have you been keeping up on what he's doing now in NXT at all?
Yeah, definitely. You know, he is he is finding himself right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think I'm really excited to see, you know, what he has to offer to the NXT product. I know he's had his cameos every now and then. The deal with Shinsuke coming out and doing a few singles matches with Rich Swann, and I think his recent one was with Sean Maluda. But the reaction that he's been getting from the crowd so far has been pretty good. But I definitely don't think that wasn't even the start of what we're going to see with him. I think that those were just you know, his warm-up matches to try to find who he is as a performer and you know, as a wrestler. So once the full package is there, and I believe he just had a vignette that aired not too long ago. So I'm sure you'll be seeing him on NXT pretty soon. So it's very exciting to see.
Speaking of that character, he embodies it to the fullest. What do you think about the Velveteen Dream character? And is this something that he's been wanting to do in the past?
Patrick has always been the one to do anything to grab people's attention. So it didn't surprise me when I did see the direction that he was going. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with it.
Yeah, we attended an NXT live event. This was maybe, what was it, February?
This past February, yes.
And that was one of the highlights of the night for me, was seeing him come out, the theatrics and everything. I think it's great. I think there's a lot of promise there. Is there any coincidence that both you and Patrick kind of came into your own as characters right around the same time?
I think that we did. You know, it was rough for us. Like I said, we split so suddenly, and it kind of forced us to, I want to say, excel quicker and find ourselves quicker to, you know, make an impact on the wrestling world. So it was about around the same time where we both kind of started to find ourselves as characters and as performers. It was hard for us to break out of that tag team situation, but once we got it down packed, I think it worked out in both of our favors.
Now, you being obviously an emerging name on the independent scene, I think a lot of people view independent wrestling as, you know, it's a spot fest. There is no character. There is no storytelling. I think you coming up with this character that you came up with in the spot that you're in now, especially at such a young age, one, speaks a lot to your creativity, and two, it shows that there guys out there can do more than just go out there and do flips and dives, as has been the popular term the last few days.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I was a person who really was only really knew about WWE until I went to a House of Hardcore show back in, I believe, 2015. And then I started to see, like, oh, wait, pro wrestling is so many different things. Like, one of the messages we try to get across on this show is we all are fans of wrestling, we all love wrestling, but none of us looks at it through exactly the same eyes. We all kind of like different things about it. And you go to an independent show, you see all of those different things, and everyone can find something that they like. But do you think with your creativity, because I almost wonder, do you like the control that you have over what you do on the independents more so than you would have in, say, NXT, where they're kind of packaging what they want you to do. Like, do you think this is a much better spot for you to be in right now?
It's hard to say because I haven't been there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think what I'm doing now is good for me. I guess I can kind of compare it to me being in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have much control as I would have liked to with the direction of the, I guess, character that I had. But me being on the indies has definitely given me the freedom to kind of control my own way of doing things. And it's not like if I was on Ring of Honor and I didn't like what I was doing, I can switch it up because we're on TV. So I kind of have to stick with whatever I'm doing and kind of slowly transition my way out of it.
Right.
Whereas if I'm on the indies, if I don't like something or I'm not getting the reaction that I would like to, I can just go to the next show and try something completely new or completely different. So I think me being on the indies is definitely helping me a lot because it's giving me different crowds to work in front of. It's giving me different promotions and just different people to do different things and see what works and what doesn't. So I definitely think at this age and my level of experience that this is what's best for me at the moment.
How do you feel about the term sports entertainment?
A lot of people don't like it, but I am glad that that's what it's called because that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's all a show, man. It's all about entertaining the people in the audience. And if you can't get them behind you or get them engaged in what you're doing or to get them to interact in whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. So I definitely think the term sports entertainment is the right term for what we do.
Do you think this could be kind of like a generational thing? Like if you listen to Stone Cold, he hates the word sports entertainment, or some guys like that. And I actually have written down here in my notes for something I wanted to say to you. A lot of people do look at the term sports entertainment as like a bad word, but you actually embody all of the things that make up sports entertainment. Like I mentioned, all those little details that I picked out in your entrance, a lot of the things you do in the ring. Like you are a sports entertainer. And that, to me, is more important than just the wrestling. You are a great wrestler in the ring, but you're offering people a reason to care about what you're doing in the ring.
Yeah, because I remember at House of Hardcore in Philly, I was sitting second row when you fought Tony Nese and gave everybody the death stare. And I actually bought it. I was like, wow, this guy's awesome.
I don't get why people don't like the term because, if people get offended that people are calling it sports entertainment, I'm not really understanding why, because the word sport is in it. And I do believe that this is truly is a sport because if you're not an athlete or you're not, athletic at all, I don't believe that you will be able to do this. Professional wrestling is pretty damn hard. But, the entertainment factor is definitely very important. And I could be biased because acting is something that I want to pursue too. So I kind of focus in both areas. But I definitely think that sports entertainment is the right term for what we do.
Lio, you mentioned a little while back about if something didn't work, you would change your character, change it around if it doesn't work. Where did the idea for the Blackheart version of Lio Rush come from?
Like I said, it's kind of something that just came naturally. I was going through some rough things in my personal life, and it was all a combination of built up emotion, anger, frustration, depression, and it all just formed into that character. It wasn't really something that I had to sit down and think out. It's very it's very confusing to explain how it all came up, and I always try to find the best way to explain it to whoever asked me where did this come from. But I always say that, you know, it wasn't something that I had to think out. It all just came naturally from personal life experiences and what I was going through at that time. And I feel like people just, you know, they grasped and understood, and they kind of could feel that character so much because it was relatable to some people, and it was something real. And I think that's why the character got over the way that it did.
So put the whole realism factor of the gimmick, did it help you deal with the emotions at all?
It did. It did help me deal with a lot of things because, like I said, the emotion from the personal life situations was kind of flowing through, you know, that character. So it was kind of almost a release for me because I could just display that emotion through that person and not the person that I was, you know, outside of the ring. I didn't have to deal with it outside of the ring because I already dealt with it inside of the ring, if that makes sense. So it definitely helped me out a lot.
That makes perfect sense. And actually, you mentioned a moment ago that acting is something you want to pursue, and that's something that goes into acting, is being able to use real life emotions to help convey a performance of a fictional character. Have you done any acting outside of the wrestling business?
I have not. I remember when I was about maybe 11 or 12 years old, I was in a short film that my family had produced.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I have absolutely no acting experience. But again, I've always been a person that's been like self-taught. So
mm-hmm.
like my family is really huge in the music industry and the entertainment business. So I taught myself how to, you know, I would teach myself how to play a certain instrument, or I would teach myself how to use a camera so I can create my own, you know, visuals, or I was in high school, and I would make my own like short films or my own mini documentaries, and I taught myself how to use editing software that that college kids would use. So I've always been a self-taught person. So it's very easy for me to learn something new. It's like I can just look at it and, you know, catch on so quickly. So I think that's the case with wrestling, and I can just watch a movie and see certain people's mannerisms, or the way that they move, or how they act, or, you know, certain eye motions to make people feel a certain way. And I just pick up all of those little things and just apply it to what I do in the ring and outside of the ring with my entrances and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've always been like a self-taught person, but definitely taking acting classes is something that I would like to do in the future.
Now, not to be too much of a psychologist here, but a lot of what you said, do you think empathy is something that I think a lot of people are not blessed with? It sounds like you're able to see how someone feels and kind of apply it to yourself.
Yes, I think that is very big. I think that's the most important part of the psychology aspect of professional wrestling, and a lot of people don't have that, and I don't know. It's very weird to me how some people don't. But I don't know. I've always been like just a weird ass person, like growing up. So me catching on to stuff like that and realizing that other people don't has always been like weird to me. But
it's almost like a superpower.
I think that's very important. Yeah, exactly.
Now, another thing I want to mention about CZW, I saw a tweet that they tweeted a couple days ago that says, "The world has been sleeping on CZW. Our turn to rise. It's time to wake up." Then I saw a promo that you did for the next event, which, is it called Evolution or Evolution?
Evolution.
Okay, Evolution. I thought that promo was incredible. Are they maybe kind of trying to build this next generation of CZW around you, or are you just kind of part of whatever it is they're building towards?
I think I'm just a part. I'm just a little piece of a part of a much bigger picture. It just so happens to be right place, right time for me. Mm-hmm. I am fortunate enough to be the guy in CZW right now, where they are starting to transition into something a lot bigger. I wouldn't say that nothing is getting built around me, but I would say that I feel like a lot of what I've done in CZW has definitely been a huge influence on the direction that CZW is going towards. I'm a product of the CZW Dojo Wars, and for me to go to Dojo Wars to being the CZW, World Champion
mm-hmm.
in less than 2 years is incredible. So I think that I'm starting to, and that's another reason why I wanted to start doing these podcasts, because I feel like at first when I first started training, and a lot of people would see me on shows, and they would always ask me questions or tell me, how can I do this or how can I do that? I always just said that, I don't feel like it's my time. It's not my time to teach anybody. I don't want to. Who am I to give anybody advice?
Mm-hmm.
I'm less than 2 years in the business. When I get to 10 or 20 years, I think that's when I'll start doing like seminars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've realized that my actions and the things that I've done in the wrestling business have kind of influenced this younger generation of wrestlers to kind of go in the same direction that I've gone. So I think that CZW going in this new direction of starting to focus on the younger guys and the guys that are more, kind of into that, not showcase style, but just the more hybrid wrestlers and not so much, deathmatch style being the focus. I definitely think the path that I've taken has influenced the direction of where CZW is going now, and I think that's why I'm in the position that I'm in now in CZW.
Well, it's definitely deserved. And another specific thing I want to get into from the last match with Gacy, there were a lot of weapons that were pulled out from under the ring, thrown into the ring, strewn all around the outside of the ring and in the ring by the end of the match. I cringed when I saw the garden weasel come out. It scared the hell out of me. But as scary as that was, the thing that scared me the most was the Legos getting poured out onto the ring.
Yeah.
As someone who has stepped on at least a dozen Legos in his life, I got sick to my stomach when I saw you get power bombed onto those. Did it feel as bad? Yes, twice. Did it feel as bad as my feet imagined that it would have felt?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I don't know if you saw after the first power bomb, I had a few of them stuck in my back.
Oh yeah, there was like 3 or 4 still in there.
Yeah, but moments before that, I crushed a cinder block with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. And
I remember after that first power bomb, I said to myself, like, shit, I would have rather been power bombed on those crushed cinder block pieces that was next to it. Yeah, because those Legos hurt pretty bad.
It's funny because it's a kid's toy, obviously, and we see, like, now there's Lego movies that are made for kids, but I legitimately felt terror when I saw you get slammed onto those things. It scared. I would rather get slammed on those I'd rather get slammed on thumbtacks, I think, than Legos. in all honesty.
Yeah, the Legos are pretty bad. I know a lot of people like saw the Legos and were like, "What the hell is that supposed to be?" But those are obviously people that have never stepped on a Lego before.
Yeah, as someone with younger siblings, I have had my fair share of Legos end up under my bare feet. I even appreciated the way he kind of sprinkled them out on the mat as if they were a bag of thumbtacks. Like he really got the full effect out of it. One thing I want to ask you, and I'm sure your size is not something you like to dwell on, but I wasn't 5 feet tall till I was 16 and a half years old. I was 4'11" until I was into my junior year of high school. And then I grew a foot over the next 2 years. My size, especially through high school, played a big part in my self-confidence, the way I saw myself. It actually made me kind of an angry person because I felt like I had to fight for everything. What effect does your size have on your career? And a follow-up to that would be, would you have any interest in being involved in another Cruiserweight Classic or the Cruiserweight division?
Okay, it was the first question about the height. I've had to deal with that my entire life. It's funny that you brought up the whole being angry thing, being little and feeling like you had to fight for everything. Actually, in elementary and middle school, I used to. People tried to bully me. I didn't used to get bullied. I actually ended up being the bully myself because people would try to bully me, and I would always just fight the person, and I would never like lose a fight. Like it was pretty bad. It got really bad. In elementary school, I was in anger management. I was the only person in anger management in the entire school, and middle school is when it was really bad. I started getting suspended, but it was never really my fault. It was always because of other people tried to bully me, and I always just defended myself. So height hasn't really affected me at all, and I feel like because of that, and because of me having to fight all the time when I was younger, and no matter how big the person was when I was younger, I would always come out on top. So I kind of feel like that has affected my mindset now, with me being a lot older. I always feel like height isn't an issue for me, and I always wrestle like a bigger person. So I think that's definitely affected the way that I'm right now. So as far as a Cruiserweight Classic or some kind of next Cruiserweight thing, if that were to ever come up, of course I would be stupid to turn anything like that down. I remember right before I got signed with Ring of Honor, a lot of people said, "Hey, you sure you want to do Ring of Honor? There might be other opportunities out there." And I just remember wrestlers saying, "Hey, it's not a rush to go to WWE, or it's not a rush to go to TNA, or whatever the case may be. You can always stay on the indies for X amount of years and kind of build a name for yourself." And I started to realize that these were all guys that were like normal sized guys, or bigger guys. I never heard a smaller guy say that to me. But kind of piggybacking off of that, like I said, I would be stupid to turn anything down like that. I feel like that would be the case for a regular size guy to kind of turn down an opportunity somewhere big like WWE or TNA or wherever, and kind of stay on the indies to make a name for themselves. But I feel like it's a much different situation for smaller guys, for cruiserweights, because, you know, we've been waiting for an opportunity like this for years. There's always been just regular sized guys in WWE or bigger sized guys. You know, opportunities for smaller guys, you know, weren't there for years. So I would be a fool to turn anything like that down. Just because the simple fact that, you know, we've been waiting for cruiserweight opportunities to open up. So, you know, why not take that opportunity now? And, you know, if I were to wait, you know, 5 years from now, you know, they might not want cruiserweights anymore.
Right.
So, yeah, I'll be a fool to turn anything like that down.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more question, then we'll let you plug some of your upcoming appearances. We got one. Aaron wants to ask you one real quick before we get out of here.
The money question for us is, will we see you August 12th at House of Hardcore in Philadelphia?
You said, will you?
Yes. Will we see you?
August 12th. Right now, I don't know what my schedule is. I have so many dates coming up that that is just super overwhelming, just because the promotions that I am working for. But my House of Hardcore days are far from over, I believe. So I wouldn't be too surprised if I did show up there. But so that is a huge possibility that I might be there August 12th.
Well, we hope to see you there. We'll come and buy some T-shirts from you if you are there. Anything that's coming up in the next couple weeks that you want to let people know about, where they can see you, where they can find you, maybe social media?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to cover these. These next few weeks are actually going to be pretty big. This weekend, Friday, I'm in Rosita, California for PWG.
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday, I am in Chicago and Detroit, Michigan for Evolve. Next week, next Thursday, I'm making my debut for AEW in Illinois. The 26th, I'm in Defy for Seattle. Saturday, the 27th, is a big one for me. I'm doing another House of Glory show. My last one with Kim Broadway was pretty successful and impactful to a lot of people. So I'm glad that I'm going back to House of Glory in Queens on the 27th.
Is that the title versus title match?
Yes.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, man. And then after that, I'm in California for an entire weekend for PCW, FCW, and then Brave, all debuts. And then the 9th, I'm back in my home promotion of MCW for Jimmy's Famous Seafood sponsored show. And then after that, I head to the UK for about 3 weeks for another UK tour that I'm pretty excited for. So that's all what I have coming up that's pretty recent.
So it sounds like you're the hardest working man in professional wrestling right now.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I'd be overwhelmed with that schedule too. Lio, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We really appreciate you giving us your time this evening. Congratulations again on the World Championship. Best of luck in the future. And we will have our eyes peeled for you at 2300 Arena on August 12th.
Definitely.
All right, Lio, thank you again. You take care. You have a good night.
All right, thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, well, pleasure was all ours. Hopefully we get to talk to you soon.
Definitely, man. Thank you.
No problem. You take care.
All right, take care.
They talking all of they. Hop on the top rope, by the land with this elbow. Got him down, put him down right now, hit him with the palm handle. Tuning up the band, y'all don't understand. Fist of Superman, it's a summer slam. Here we go again. Fans marking man, I hate my balls. Shut the Vince McMahon, it ain't safe to land off the cell. Fans love it, ain't hard to tell. Talking madness, awesome. Well, what I'm cooking, man, y'all off the smell.